All right, today we're diving into something special. We're going to crack the code on one of cricket's most mind-blowing transformations, the story of Narayan Jagadeesan.
It's a question we ask all the time in sports, right? How does a really good, solid player suddenly become a legend? It's like they just flick a switch and find this whole other gear. They go from being reliable to being totally dominant. So what does it actually look like? What's the secret sauce? Well, for Narayan Jagadeesan, that switch flip, that transformation, it led him straight to the absolute pinnacle for any Indian cricketer, a call-up to the Test squad. And look, this wasn't some fluke. This was the inevitable result of one of the most dominant, jaw-dropping runs of form domestic cricket has ever seen.
So here's our game plan for breaking this all down. We'll start with that call to greatness, then rewind to see the consistent foundation he built. After that, we'll get into the colossal transformation, crack the Coimbatore code, witness the record-breaking avalanche, and finally understand why he's so much more than just a batsman.
Okay, so let's be clear. That Test call-up, it wasn't just for having one good season. No way. It was the climax of a run so good, so sustained, that the national selectors basically had no choice. You couldn't ignore him. He didn't just knock on the door. He pretty much kicked it off its hinges with the sheer weight of his runs.
But to really get how he did this, we've got to rewind the tape a bit. This whole story, it doesn't just pop up out of nowhere in 2023. It started years ago, in the tough, grinding world of domestic cricket, where Jagadeesan was busy forging a reputation as a super reliable, gritty player for Tamil Nadu.
And that foundation was solid. I mean, think about this. He bursts onto the scene back in 2016 and scores a century in his very first match. Talk about handling pressure. And then you have innings like his gritty 183, where he literally rescued his team from a total collapse. That showed real character. He wasn't flashy, He was just the pillar, the guy you could count on. And if you look at the stats, even before this crazy run, they were seriously impressive. A first-class average north of 47, 10 centuries under his belt, that tells you this is a guy with real long-term consistency. And that's the key thing to remember here. This wasn't some flash in the pan. He was already a very, very good player.
But then, something just clicked. He went from being consistent to being completely colossal. And this, right here, is where the story really ignites, that period from 2022 onwards, where he just unlocked a totally different level. And you don't have to take my word for it, the proof is right here in the numbers. Look at the 2022-23 season, a solid, respectable average of 33. Okay, not bad. But the very next season, boom, he more than doubles his runs and his average just skyrockets to over 74. I mean, that's not just getting better, that's a total reinvention. Seriously, just let that number sink in for a second. 74.18. To keep that up across a long, grueling Ranji Trophy season is just staggering. It put him in the top 5 run scores in the whole country. It basically meant that almost every single time he walked to the crease, he wasn't just getting a few runs, he was building a massive match-winning innings.
And the veteran cricketer Dinesh Karthik absolutely nailed it. He said it wasn't just about getting to 100 anymore. Jagadeesan developed this unreal hunger. He goes out and scores a massive 245 not out, and then in the very next match, an unbelievable 321. He had totally mastered the art of the Daddy 100.
So, the big question is, how did he do it? What was the secret? Well, a huge piece of the puzzle was him cracking a very specific code, the Coimbatore code. His home ground wasn't just a cricket pitch anymore. It became his personal fortress. And the numbers from that monster 2023-24 season are, well, they're almost hard to believe. A crazy 82% of all his runs came at just one place, his home ground. Both that double hundred and the triple hundred, yep, scored right there. It's a statistical anomaly you just don't see very often. Okay, and this is where it gets genuinely wild. At his home fortress in Coimbatore, his batting average was over 150. But on the road, away from home, that average crashed down to just over 18. The data couldn't be clearer. At home, he was basically superhuman. And why does this matter so much? Because it's about more than just knowing the pitch. This was psychological. He talked about how much pride he felt, being able to do this in front of his parents, in front of his childhood coach, at the very ground where it all started. That level of comfort, that support system, it created this perfect low-pressure bubble where he could just go out and be his absolute best. And get this, This incredible form wasn't just for the long-form red ball game. Oh no, in 50-over cricket, he didn't just have a good tournament. He unleashed a straight-up record-breaking avalanche that made the entire cricketing world sit up and take notice.
5. Just 5. That's the number that completely rewrote the history books. In the 2022 Vijay Hazare Trophy, he became the first man ever to score 500s in a row in top-level 50-over cricket. The old record was 4, held by absolute legends like Kumar Sangakkara. Jagadeesan didn't just match them, he went one better. It was a level of consistency nobody had ever seen before.
In that 5th century, it wasn't just another 100. It was an absolute explosion. He smashed 277 runs. Let me say that again, 277. This wasn't just a big score. It was a new world record for the highest score in a 50-over match. He shattered a record that had been standing for 2 decades. Just a breathtaking display of power.
So let's just recap that one tournament, shall we? First player to score 5 straight centuries, new world record for the highest individual score. And, oh yeah, with his partner Sai Sudarsan, a new world record for the highest opening partnership. It was, simply put, a complete statistical takeover.
But you know, all these unbelievable runs, that's really only half the story. Because that test call-up wasn't just for a run machine. It was for a complete cricketer, a guy whose value is way, way bigger than just the number of runs he scores.
You really have to look at his 2 jobs together to get the full picture. On one side, you've got this world record-holding run machine. And on the other, you've got a super reliable wicketkeeper with more than 130 first-class catches. To be elite at both of those things, that's what makes him so rare and so incredibly valuable.
So when you put it all together, this is the package the selectors are looking at. An elite run scorer, a safe pair of hands with the gloves, a guy who specializes in building monster partnerships, and a leader. He's the vice captain of his team. He's the whole shebang, the total package.
So what's the glue that holds all this together? It comes down to a shift in his mindset. You hear him talk about it all the time. He's focused on the process, not the result. He calls all those records just a byproduct of staying locked in, moment by moment, ball by ball. It's that mental strength, that discipline, that lets you build those marathon innings that define a career.
So, he's proven he can make the leap from good to truly great. He's completely rewritten the record books and dominated domestic cricket in a way few others ever have. Which leaves us with just one massive question. He's conquered this mountain, so is the international stage the next one he's going to conquer?